I don't know if this is gonna work. I haven't tried this before. Is it recording? Hi, I'm Riot, and I've got some cool stuff for you today. So, in the past couple of weeks, I've made a big bunch of Ableton instrument racks that do generative synthesis. What that means is, I've built these to be randomized, and if I did everything right, then you can hit randomize on them, and they should give you, for example, a bunch of different snares, or kicks, or claps, or hi-hats. I've also made some for bass synths and melodic synths. And so what's different from just generally randomizing all the parameters in a synth is that I've tried to intelligently randomize them and have them be connected in terms of conditions and such. So that, for example, if you hit randomize here in those racks, right, it randomizes all those macros. But you could sort of combine a few things on one macro to make some sort of conditional thing. If I have macro 1 doing the volume of oscillator A, then I could say, hey, halfway through though, like if the volume is over here in the middle, then also turn on this delay back here. I'll link that there as well. So now if I turn this up, volume goes up, and then you can see the delay kind of turning on over here. You could change that position, like only turn on in the last third. And then you could even say, okay, also once it's turned on, please also automate the dry wet even higher up or something. So you can combine all these things together. And so using these types of connections, I tried to make some snare generators and kick generators. And I'm gonna just dive right in and show you the coolest stuff, because the snare generator is pretty neat. So these all come with snapshots, which are presets you can think of. So the snapshots store the position of these 16 macros here, and I've hidden most of them because they get randomized if you click randomize. These up here as well, you can freeze them sort of if you want to. So let's say you want to randomize some snares and create some snares, but you want the pitch to stay at 200 Hertz. Then you can do a right click and say exclude macro from randomization. Same thing here for the length. Let's say I want it to be about this long, and then you can click random again. And you get all kinds of variations. So that's sweet. I've saved a couple of presets here that sound really nice. There's some pan snares in there too. All right, next up is a kick generator for heavy dubstep kicks. And you'll notice every once in a while there'll be a result randomized that just doesn't sound good. Where maybe it might be too high and it might be too long. And that happens every once in a while, but I try to dial it in a way where most of the time you get useful results. Then there's also a trappy kind of softer kick generator. And for these presets, I've written the key that I've made them in, sort of, which key I was pressing while I was randomizing the presets at the beginning here. Because both the heavy kick and the trappy kick generator kind of work in a 1 octave range. Any key you press, it doesn't matter which octave, but it will change the pitch of the kick. If I start playing at C, and I'm just gonna go up, so at the end there, you could kind of tell that it's going back down again. I really like the trappy kick generator though. Also made a trappy snare generator, which is alright. Made some presets for it too. And then there's a whole hi-hat generator, which also just uses FM synthesis, but it does sound like metallic hi-hats. And as you might have noticed, a lot of these have some sort of other effect knobs here that aren't being randomized. There's a frequency shifter here that's after all the synthesis stuff. Where, for example, if I say, if I'm I kind of like this, let's hear what it would sound like if we pitch that up. And then I also left this EQ visible so you can kind of see what's happening here. And what I've noticed is that this setting over here is kind of a little bit more useful for open hi-hats. And all the way here is more for closed, trappy hi-hats. But try it out yourself and experiment and see what works for you. This one's a little stupid, it's just some random percussion generator. This is a goofy sound effect generator. Then a very simple clap one. I'll make a better clap one as well at some point. But this one just gives you length control and then It does like randomize the width and the pitch a little bit and the filter. So that's mostly it for the drums. I've got some cool effect ones too. There's like a laser zap generator. It like sounds the same on any key you press, but you have control over the speed of it sort of with the time knob here. And there are some presets too. Here's another similar one where there's some frequency control too. And some speed control with the time knob. And then this one just creates weird FM-y, hypey effect one-shots. Sometimes they're a bit weird. But wait, there's more. Not only can we randomly generate drums, but also synths and bass sounds. So here I have like some cute bell generator using a couple of operators. What's kind of happening inside here is that there are 3 operators that are all like set to different overtones. And they're all playing sine waves, so I'm kind of treating them as partials in additive synthesis. Then there's like a master control for the volume envelope with a time knob here. The dampen makes the higher sine waves fade out faster than the lower ones. And the spread partials, if I turn this all the way down, then you see, oh, it's like, this says 1, 2, 3, 4, next one does 5, 6, 7, 8, so now it's just all the sine waves up the harmonic overtone scale. And I always feel like it sounds a little more bell-like, a little more metallic when it's more odd overtones. So the spread partials macro just spreads them all out to only fill the odd harmonics and not the odd and even ones, so... becomes a little more glossy and a little more metallic sounding. I haven't saved any presets for this one because I just want you all to explore and randomize and see what comes up. There's also a cute little soft key synth sound generator over here that does these kinds of sounds. I like this one a lot because it also randomly adds vibrato sometimes on some of the generated patches. And over here you kind of just have 2 macros to control attack and decay. Like if this is over here, got a little bit of fade in. Over here it makes the decay shorter, and then this brings up sustain. Or adds release. So I can just like let it fade like that. And then this one's a bit more CPU intense because it is generating the same patch twice, and the copy is played at an octave up, and then you can mix that in, and that has its own wet like delay and reverb effects. Which is quite neat, because then let me just hide all of this and generate some sounds. I kind of like this little vibrato on there, so then we can say, hey, I want the octave layer to be louder. Add some post compression. And I've also, just for fun, added a little trans gate. Because apparently that is in fashion currently. Over here we got some bass sound generators. So they're also using operator, and then there's some processing on here with like a smaller version of the fat rack. But sometimes just by hitting random, it just ends up putting all those oscillators in operator into the right pitch and in the right combination to sort of create a realistic sounding instrument. Like this sort of sounds like a slap bass. I thought that was kind of cool. A lot of these are also velocity reactive, like you gotta be kind of careful if you're playing this with a keyboard, or if your MIDI velocity is super high, it might sound a little louder than you want it to. Another kind of heavier bass generator. There's a lot of processing on this one, which kind of makes the sound a little bit samey. But that's why I've included multiple base generators, so you have like some choice. This one's kind of cool and a little more straightforward. There is a post effects section over here that is separate, so it doesn't save like the position of this knob for the presets. So you'll just have to adjust that yourself or just leave it somewhere where you like it. Let's hit randomize a couple times. Let's make the results a little shorter. If you click randomize too fast and you miss the sound that you like, you can always go back with Command Z. Yeah, every once in a while it'll be too distorted or just too harsh. That one had a funny vibrato on it. You can get all of these on my Patreon, by the way, and I've organized stuff a little bit better now. There's like the collections tab where I've been organizing like, hey, these are posts where there are wavetables for downloads. Here are posts with Ableton Recs for downloads. So you don't have to scroll back into the past forever to like find stuff you want to download. Two disclaimers though, if you use these random generation type racks. Thing number one is it can take a while to open these, especially if you have multiple of these in a project, it's going to take longer to load. They aren't extremely CPU heavy, but some of them aren't really that efficient, so I recommend committing the stuff to audio whenever you can. And then another thing that happens very, very rarely, but sometimes you might load one of these and it just sounds weird, glitchy, the left channel sounds different than the right, it doesn't sound like it's supposed to, just delete it, re-import it. You just have to load it again and then it works. So here I've made a little loop only using these generative synthesis patches. Instead of like throwing samples into a drum rack, I just threw the kick generator in here and then snare generator and a clap generator and so on and so forth. Same with the hi-hats here. I added a few effects here and there. There's like a little bit of dynamic tube on this bass. There's a little bit of reverb on that bell. I'm gonna put this project file on my Patreon as well. Since this project file has like 3, 6, and that's 3, and that's 3, like 12 of these instrument racks in it. This is going to take a while to open, but probably also like a good test for your computer if it works. This is actually doing surprisingly well on my machine. It's like at 18% if I'm not playing. Stays below 40. That's pretty good for like how much crazy stuff is happening in here. So one more cool thing I wanted to show you all is that you can link this rand button. I know there's a Max for Live device where you can link it to other parameters, but you can link it to a key on your keyboard and you can link the same key to multiple of these. And I'm just going to link all of them from this entire loop to just my R key. R for randomize, and R is also not used in like the Ableton keyboard layout if you want to play something. So I'm just going to connect all of these randomization buttons. So what you do is you hit Command K, and then you're in this mode where now you can click on anything and then hit a key that you want to link to that thing. So I click rand here and hit R, and then can I just go over here? Nice. So snare, random generator over here, kick, yep, the 3 hats. You, and you. Okay, and then Command K again. And now if you hit R, it should like trigger this randomization on all of these racks at once. Let's just listen to this once all the way through, and then I'm gonna hit R, and it should completely replace everything with something slightly similar. I don't know if this is gonna work. I haven't tried this before. Alright, I'm gonna hit R. It didn't crash. Let's see what happens if I play this. One more time. R. Oh, this one isn't doing it. The bell. I forgot about the bell. Do we have everyone now, though? One more try. That's kind of cool. I guess since this is like the time constraint for that donk bass, I might make it a little bit longer so that we hear it a bit better. Yeah, that clap generator isn't perfect yet. This is fun. I might just do this a couple more times and just see what happens. Just for fun, I'm gonna speed it up too. Yeah, that clap is definitely too long overall. Okay, so this bass generator does sometimes make cool FM donks, like that kind of stuff. But they're all pretty soft. I might just replace this with a different one. So let's try it with the heavy FM bass generator instead. Oh, gotta link that randomization to the R key as well, so we can do everything at once again. I'm just going to keep it playing for a bit, and like every 2 bars, I'm just going to hit R. You can kind of see that happening every time I hit R, all these knobs change position. So you'll know when I've reshuffled all the sounds every time. Ooh, those two are good. This one isn't, but you need another go. Like... I'm just gonna save this as like a V2 with just differently randomized patches. Alright, one more go. This is fun. This one sounds good too. Let's just fix this guy. This one's a bit unreliable. Sweet, I'm gonna save this one too as like V3. Okay, before I let you go, I think it's important that I mention that you can use all of these and randomize your own sounds with it, and then, especially for the drums, you can sell those results in a sample pack. That's totally fine. This isn't sample-based, this is just synthesis-based. This is kind of why I've been making them for myself as well, because then when I'm making a sample pack, or if I just sit down and I'm like, hey, I want to make some snares, then I'll usually start with something like this, with like a generative patch that sort of creates the base of a snare for me, and then I might add some Foley layers that I've recorded myself or things like that. So please have at it. Especially hi-hat synthesis isn't easy, and I tried to kind of do it here with Operator with the limited FM capabilities, and it sounds kind of nice. Like, you can definitely get something out of this. So you can get all these on my Patreon as well as the project file here. And yeah, I think in the future I'm just going to try and develop this concept a little bit. What I'm dreaming of at the end of this is sort of a synth where first you sort of pick, hey, I would like a pluck or a pad or a bass or a stab type sound, and that sort of sets the parameters for the randomization that then follows. and then just a lot of really well-coded and organized factors of, hey, if this sound has over plus 5 decibels on this distortion effect, then also apply an EQ at the end that like takes a little bit of the harshness out. Or maybe if you've selected pluck, there's a 50% chance for a delay and a reverb being added at the end of the sound. But if you've selected like make me a bass step, then it won't add a reverb at the end. Or if it does, it'll be like a really short one that just does like a little echo, kind of like dimension expander. At the base, it's just some general, like, if this, then that type coding with probabilities. But it's about weighing the probabilities the right way and knowing what knob needs to be turned to what area to achieve a certain kind of sound. But I think this could be really cool. Of course, I've been seeing a lot of AI sound generation stuff on the internet, and I find it fascinating. It's often still very like lo-fi quality and it doesn't sound quite right. And I feel like stuff like this, also like how Synplan 2 has the Geno patch thing, I think stuff like this is way more approachable and the results are more often than not useful, at least in my eyes or ears. But see and hear for yourself and get them on my Patreon. I'll put 1 or 2 of them in the description for free, and then the whole other shebangs on the Patreon. So thank you all for watching and have a nice day. Bye.